It's time for the Charlotte FC podcast. Welcome to the Charlotte FC podcast. I'm Nick Finelli. Today on the show, how a soccer club is trying to do more than win matches. Charlotte FC has built a presence in the Carolinas that stretches far beyond the pitch. We'll hear today from Trent Slagle, Senior Communications Coordinator with the club, who helped shape the team's Community Impact Report, from Schott, who manages the community engagement for the club, and from Sarah Garrison at Atrium Health, Director of Brand Partnerships for the Southeast Division, who's a partner in helping bring some of these programs to life. Together, their stories reveal the heart behind the numbers. First, Trent Slagle.
What the Community Impact Report is, it's a highlight take. This is very much all the things that we did back in 2024 that we are incredibly proud of. This is just a glimpse into what Charlotte FC does in the community. We want to be a good neighbor and a beacon for community work in the Carolinas. The reason we share these reports year over year is not just to share what we've done, but also to encourage people to join us in these efforts. That's really the primary purpose of this report, is to show people what we're doing and how they can get involved with it. And so, yeah, that's why I think why fans and people should see this as so much more than just us talking about how good we are. This is us calling out to fans, to partners, to community members and saying, we're here, we want to help, and we want you guys to be a part of it as well.
The report mixes numbers and stories. Numbers like thousands of kids served through camps and clinics, and stories like the one Trent says stuck with him.
There's a quantitative and then there's qualitative. For example, 3,243 youth were served through camps and clinics in 2024. Greater Goals expanded into Winston-Salem and into different parts of the Carolinas to really make sure that we are expanding that Greater Goals after school program that not just promotes soccer, but also promotes teach reading, and that really focuses on the literature and the academic part of the after school program. So there's obviously those numbers that we're trying to hit each year over year, but there's also the qualitative as well, as hearing the stories of how these things impact kids from Title I schools, like through Greater Goals or through Pitches for Progress with our mini pitches, and seeing how those things can impact kids and their stories, or through impacting our military through Military Cup, or for example, like one thing that we did last year that isn't really measured on number of minutes we had kids playing in Greater Goals or the amount of school supplies we handed out, but one of the more qualitative qualitative stories and goals and the impact that we saw was with Caroline Love last year, and really seeing how us taking an emphasis on mental health and really trying to help her. Just the story and seeing how that helped her overcome her struggles was just something that was great to see.
That balance of numbers and stories is also what drives Schott. She manages Charlotte FC's community engagement team, and she says the real impact shows up in the lives of kids and families.
It's clear that Charlotte is a soccer city, and so it's been such a joy to see how our little part of the world and our lane of soccer can make a huge impact in the lives of people, whether that's just giving them access to tickets to get into what I think is the greatest atmosphere in all of MLS in our stadium, to have an impact on a soccer field at an elementary school, after school, giving kids access to soccer that wouldn't have access otherwise through our program called Greater Goals, and that's our soccer and literacy program. And then to look at how we've gotten to pull in a whole community of folks with intellectual disabilities and give them a place within the club. And that's our unified team. We take athletes that have intellectual disabilities and those that don't, and combine them and unify them on the same pitch, and they play together as a team. And we've just seen the stories that come from that, of how these kids who were just basically playing video games in their rooms now are starting to get jobs and be spokespeople for Special Olympics, and just blooming from the opportunities that Charlotte FC has been able to just kind of lob up for them, and they've taken it and run with it. And so it's been a huge joy to take our brand and make a difference like that.
It's not just schools. CC says programs reach veterans and military families too.
2 weeks ago, we had our military cup where we bring in different teams from different bases around the Carolinas. And one of the guys who was captain of one of the teams got to share of what a difference it makes for him to be able to be on the pitch with his guys who they're not on the base, they're out. It matters to leave your normal space and be invited into a new space. And the difference is made in relationships he has with his coworkers, for the guys in his group. It just paid dividends for them to be a part of this yearly tournament. And this was their third year playing in it, and they won it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And so that was one small thing. And like I said, the unified program where we really are seeing some of our friends with disabilities, their lives really be transformed through it. So yes, I have a front row seat to some of these stories. Getting to make Build-A-Bears for patients in the hospital last year at our Joy Drop and seeing the smiles. We brought Build-A-Bear to them because they can't go there because of their whatever situation they're in, and being able to really see the smiles, the laughter, the comments at a Greater Goals play day that says, "This is the greatest day of my life," as they're getting a signature from a player. It's just there. It's unbeatable.
Nice. And when you get to go to, I mean, I've seen you at just regular community events where it's Charlotte FC just has a booth at it. And I'm guessing part of it is just for presence and say, hey, we support this, whether it's, some event to raise money for like Jeremy's jump walk or something like that, to raise money for a particular cause or something like that. It seems like Charlotte is involved in all different parts and not just like the named partnerships that people see. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Our grassroots marketing has been top notch since the very beginning, an effort to really want to be out in the community and the fabric of what's going on. And so, yeah, we pop up lots of places. That's not necessarily in my job description, but the club itself, it's been a priority since the beginning. And so you'll remember that first year, they were everywhere as the team started. And now the emphasis on being out in the fabric of the community, in anywhere from the Charleston Bridge Run to a volleyball tournament for the USO in Wilmington to things going on in Asheville. We want to have a presence, and we want the Carolinas to know that we're for the Carolinas, not just for Charlotte.
Partnerships are another piece of this. And for Charlotte FC, one of the biggest partners is Atrium Health.
We really see the value in meeting people where they are. And so sports kind of hits a different angle than your day-to-day billboards or other marketing. And we're able to connect with the fan and really bring that passion from the fan of their sport and hopefully transition that passion to Atrium Health. So it's just a great to storytell and share our brand. And then another great thing that we do with most of our sports partners is the clinical aspect. So we not only do it for our branding, storytelling, that point of view, but we're the clinical experts for the players, for the fans, for everybody at the venue. So I always like to say it would be wrong if we were not providing the care, but we were advertising. You make sure that you're doing the work. So I work really closely with our Musculoskeletal Institute and our clinical teams to make sure that they're on site, taking care, making sure that the athletes have the best care and the best training, which then helps me on the brand side as well.
Got it. And so all of that stuff with the actual player side, the players' families, like that closeness, that's happening in a separate thing. But since you're already doing that, then you're saying this is what we're doing and this is how we reach out to the community.
So sometimes we start partnerships where it starts out as a clinical relationship and it grows to something more. Other times, teams come to us and they say, we want to have a marketing partnership. And we say, well, we have to be doing the clinical in order to do that.
Yeah. Okay. And so how does Charlotte FC fit in there as a unique partner?
Yeah. Well, I love our partnership with Charlotte FC. They're a little unique because we also are the naming rights to the training facility. So you've got Atrium Health Performance Park, and it is one with the team. And so the players, the first team practices there, the academy practices there, youth teams practice there. And so it's really made Atrium Health sort of infiltrated into the team. Like, we are one. We actually have over 5 staff on team, from team position to athletic trainers to dietitians. They're actual physical Charlotte FC teammates, but they're Atrium Health teammates, but they sit at Atrium Health Performance Park doing the work.
For Sarah, one story in particular showed what that partnership could mean.
We had a patient. So our care team at Levine Children's Hospital came to me and said, we have a patient who loves Charlotte FC and is really interested in going to the Miami match and getting to see that, high elite level of playing. Unfortunately, he had a terminal illness, and his care team didn't think he was going to make it to the Miami match. And so Charlotte FC really just jumped in, and they said, we have to figure out a way to honor this patient now. And so Atrium Health is the presenting sponsor of the honorary captain for every match. So we choose a patient, a teammate, whoever, to place the ball on the stand and get recognized pre-match. And so we got this patient out there to be the honorary captain, but because of their condition, they were on contact precautions. They were, had special accommodations and things like that. And Charlotte FC just jumped in and said, we'll put them in a suite. We'll take care of it. We'll make it right. And so they did that. Fast forward a couple months, the Miami game is coming up, and the care team reached out and they said, we have great news. Like, the patient is still doing well. Is there any way we can get, tickets to this match to take the patient and his dad? So I was like, no problem. We'll make it work. Charlotte FC jumped in, got him out to the match. Well, those to me sounded like easy things to do, right? That's my job. Those are ways that we collaborate. But about a month later, Dad called me, and his son had passed away. And he said, you won't believe what an impact you made on our family in our last, days with our son. And here, all I can think of is, you just lost a son. You are grieving. You have so much going on, but you took the time to call me and thank me. And he said, make sure you thank Natalie, make sure you thank Denny, make sure you thank everybody at the team for all that they did for our family. And that's when you just take a step back and say, this is so much more, right? And that's where that passion is, between the fans and then the passion for Atrium Health, and how those really came together.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Stories like that, and like the Caroline Love story Trent mentioned, highlight how personal this work can be.
Want to use our platform to do good in the community, and especially in the Carolinas. The Caroline Love story that we highlighted so much last year with our internal content team, that was just a story that was just really beautiful, and really trying to talk about really being open about mental health and overcoming that. I thought that was amazing, and something that I hold dear to my heart, and something that I try to put an emphasis on, not only in my life, but with everything I do. And then also on top of that, I think one of our pitches for progress last year with Creative Player Foundation was actually one of Charlotte FC's first ever community partners. Back in 21, before the team even existed, we started doing some community programming with them. So, and knowing the after school programming and and all the stuff that Daniel and his team does over there, being able to bring a mini pitch and implement it was the first one we ever did indoors. And then we also provided an outdoor pitch as well. And kind of going back to our roots, helping a program, even though it's a different after school program, it's not our Greater Goals program, but really noticing how impactful Daniel and Creative Player Foundation is in the community, and really just trying to help them out, and kind of going back to our roots was something I really enjoyed, and something that really stuck out to me.
Right. I mean, because it's kind of like the whole Field of Dreams. Like, if you build it, they will come. But then you have to have programming. You have to have things. They can't always just come to the empty thing. So like Daniel and other partners making things happen at those mini pitches, makes it more useful than just here's an open park that you can come and play.
Exactly. And I mean, Daniel's been doing it. I think he mentioned last year he's coming up, I know, at least a decade. He might be coming up close to 2 decades on it. And so just seeing how a new pitch was so helpful and meaningful to them was just really cool to see.
Yeah, we interviewed him back in our first season. He was great talking about what they did. So when you look at this year's report, which of course is from 2024, do you see stuff? Are there things that are glaring that you're like, hey, maybe this is something we need to do much better next year, or we missed the mark and we might have to not scratch it all, but come with maybe rethink how we're going to do this? Is there any part of that report that we'll see like, oh, you're going to see a difference in 2025 because we did this because of it?
Good question. I don't know if there's anything particularly that, like, top of my head, I'm like, oh, we're planning on changing that.
Right.
To be honest, that's probably, when it comes to the way we do the report, there's definitely some things I want to change. But when it comes to the programming itself, that's probably more of a CC question. But when it comes to the report itself, there's definitely things that I've thought about moving into next year, especially with how our programming has changed with different things. Just how do we best tell these stories? And throughout the report, that's always something I'm constantly looking at. That's something that we did from 23 to 24 from the first edition to this edition. Was like one thing we emphasized was last year was the first one. We were really putting down the foundation and really telling these stories from the beginning. Now 2024, there was this balance of people have read this before and this is their second time, or they're reading it for the first time. So really balancing that while also condensing it and making it more of an easy read was something that we really focused on this year. And probably throwing in a few more pictures, because I feel like imagery can be just as, if not more impactful than copy can be. So.
Right. Now, you also work with the players and their visibility in the community for these things. Oftentimes we see players showing up for photo ops, but also for causes and things like that. So what's being done on their side to make sure it's bigger than just a handshake or something they feel like they're obligated? I know some players actually come in and ask, like, what can I do to help in the community? Can you share any bits of kind of behind the scenes of what that happens with the players and how that works, so people understand that they're just not being, it's not superficial, like it's meaningful? And
100%, right? And that comes with a balance too, is like for example, you mentioned players asking how they can get into the community. Like Harry, the new left back signing, that was one of the first questions he asked when he got here. He said it in his introductory press conference. It really, every single player that you see out in the community, it really comes from a genuine place and really want to get involved in different ways. For example, Nick Holiday, I think, is the best example of this. Nick Holiday, keeper who primarily plays for Crown Legacy, but is a first team keeper, young up and coming guy. And I mean, he's not just he doesn't just show up for Greater Goals Plague Days. He's legitimately a Greater Goals coach at Rama Elementary. So he comes here and he does his training for the day, and then he goes out and he coaches, and he has his own team that he coaches and that he works with. So he's definitely the first person that comes to mind when it comes to those things. But every single player, every single time we talk to them about different community events, we let them know what it is. Before the season starts, we always talk to them about what community events are you interested in and what do you feel most connected to. And so we have that information compiled and ready to go ahead of time, so that when there are community events that fit into those molds, we know which players to reach out to because they're the ones that are passionate about it. Like, for example, I know Tim Ream, and this will come up in the report. Tim Ream was a part of our Captain's Academy this last year, and he spoke to high schoolers about leadership and really trying to be their best selves as they prepare for college. So we really try to make sure that whatever community event that the players are at, it's something that they're passionate about as well.
Charlotte FC's community work is guided by 3 pillars. Here's CC again.
3 main pillars that we're we really care about, and that is growing the game. And so that's anything from our camps and clinics for the community to our unified program to greater goals. And that is high priority for us, is to grow the game in the Carolinas. And then we have our second one is mint condition, and that's addressing everything from leadership to mental health to our wanting food security for every Carolinian. And so however we can be a part of that, whether that's with the food bank or donating back from the stadium and from our headquarters, just wanting to be a part of that. And then our third one is serving those who serve. And that is for teachers, that's for first responders, that's for our military. And just wanting to have eyes for those folks in our communities that are giving so much, and how can we give back to them? And that's been a really fun one too, being able to serve some teachers, getting some supplies in their hands, getting kids backpacks at school time, and being able to do stuff at the hospital. And then obviously I've already spoken to what we get, just a small part of what we get to do with the military. It's been great. And those three are all wrapped up, and we really do want to be for the Carolinas. And those are the three main ways that we're tackling it, or trying to tackle it through the club.
Great. Last question. You talked about at the beginning about thinking and creating dreams. What's the dream that you haven't been able to do, but that's on your list that Charlotte's looking forward, or you would like to see the club and this brand that's being out there do?
Yeah, there's a huge mental health initiative by the league itself. And so we're wading into those waters of how we can be a part of that, how that fits within our lane of soccer here in the Carolinas. So that's something that we're thinking and dreaming about. We're always wanting to add mini pitches and think through like how we can get out into the community more and grow that coach-athlete relationship. And so that we're dreaming about a growing the game day where we're training coaches and refs and kids and helping them be better leaders on the field.
And Trent says that's the heart of the report.
The Community Impact Report is a compilation of Charlotte FC's efforts within the community to not just efforts within the community to make not just Charlotte, but the Carolinas a better and happier place and whatever, and specifically through the avenue of soccer, right? And I think for readers, I would really want them to read this report and see that Charlotte FC is doing more than just trying to make an impact on the pitch. They're trying to make an impact off the pitch as well. And more than anything, we want them to join us. We want them to see this report and be inspired and see how they can get involved. Can they volunteer with our camps and clinics team or whatever different community events we may have? And so those are probably the two things that I would hope that people read this report and get out of it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Well, that's it for today's episode of the Charlotte FC podcast. Thanks to Trent Slagle, CC Schott, and Sarah Garrison for sharing their stories. You can find a link to the Charlotte FC's Community Impact Report in our show notes. And if today's conversation inspired you, think about how you might get involved as a volunteer, a supporter, or simply a fan, cheering a little louder, knowing the impact goes a long way beyond the pitch. I'm Nick Finelli, host of the Charlotte FC podcast. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your day.